6
Bob's
o'clock.
still working on his.
Got to change the password.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No, I'll tell you. I'll write myself a note.
All right, we'll start with our council activity reports. I'm going to switch things up a little bit. If you don't mind, I will go last. So with that, can I turn it over to Neil?
Okay, I had policy and procedures, finance last week. And the biggest things out of that was a little talking about the new park that's proposed in the township, the 202-acre park. And I think that was the biggest thing we discussed. So then tonight we had Public Works and a couple things will be on our agenda for tonight here. Nothing real pressing. That was it.
Okay, Megan.
I also attended the budget and finance meeting that Neil was at, and I went to City Day on the Hill, which it's always nice to speak with our representatives about issues affecting Painesville, so.
All right. Jean.
I have nothing to report.
All right. Paul.
I have nothing to report.
Right. So I have, Tarek and I met with the developer on Friday. He's looking at buying some land out by the airport. I also popped into the budget and finance meeting just for about 5 minutes for the sole purpose of just telling them about the request from the township folks on the park request, since Steve Peterson and the other folks couldn't make it. But I did skip out as soon as I could so that I didn't participate in any of the discussion or anything like that. So there's the disclosure. But I said I'd go last night because I need to just fill you all in on a personal matter. Something I shared with staff a while ago, and I've decided I need to share it with the council now. Gene, I apologize because I shared some of this with you, but let you think it was Erica.
You did let me think it was Erica, but then you told me it was you.
Simply put, my brain is too big for my head. I've dealt with migraines since early high school, maybe earlier than that. Last spring, I noticed that my ability to speak was sometimes difficult. I would have trouble finding the right word, or I would mean to say one word and a completely random and unrelated word would come out instead. So I met with my doctor, we determined a referral to a neurologist was in order, and to check if it was related to the migraines. I had an MRI which showed the physical abnormality. Since then, I've met with specialists at the U to get an official diagnosis and plan. I have a condition called a Chiari malformation. This means that a portion of my brain is too big and it sticks out of the base of my skull, putting pressure on my spinal column and neck. The only treatment is surgery, where a piece of the skull about the size of a postage stamp is removed. At this time, they need to do some additional tests to rule out a couple of unlikely complications, but I'm anticipating surgery later this spring or this summer. If I have surgery as anticipated, I'm guessing that I will need to take a leave for at least a month, maybe 2. And that's where I told Jean that I might be out for a while, since she'll be pro tem during that time, but let you think that it was Erica.
Until you told me it wasn't.
So I will have more information after I meet with my surgeon again in early April. But unless and until I'm scheduled for surgery, I plan to keep serving as mayor and keep doing this job. I have headaches, but those are not new. The new-ish symptoms are the word-finding abilities, but they don't affect my ability to work or think. It's just speaking is sometimes odd. I can understand the words, but sometimes the wrong thing comes out. At this point, it's primarily an annoyance, not a hindrance. So I'm sharing this with you now because I thought the council deserves to know, since I'm getting close to taking some time off and I don't know how quickly things will move. It also doesn't help, although it was not the driving factor in my deciding to tell you, that my grandpa is sharing it with everyone at the bars around town. Knowing that gossip travels faster than anything else in Painesville, I'm figuring I'd let you know before you hear it through the rumor mill. I also spoke with Mike Jacobson so that he had a heads up before he saw this video and his jaw hit the floor. So in sum, I have a physical condition where my brain is under pressure and it's being pushed or pulled out of the base of my skull. and I need to do some additional testing to confirm and schedule if surgery is appropriate. Right now, everything's pointing towards that being the option. It is brain surgery, but my surgeon's response was, we do this all the time, so I'm not terribly worried about it. I went through my little freak out last September and October, put my will together and my healthcare directive, and that's all done. So that panic is over, I'm good. I'm confident it'll be successful, but I just wanted to let you all know as things start circulating so that the truth is out there in some way, shape, or form before the rumors start. So that's all I have. Now where did I put my agenda? We can move on. Department head reports. Bill.
On your desk, you'll find up-to-date numbers, year-to-date. Ended last year slow and started off slow this year. A lot has to do with the ice fishing, snowmobiling. It really affected our business. Overall, last year, we were down. Industry-wide, we matched everybody else, but I'm hoping a lot of it was the road construction. So we're really looking forward to this summer to see where things are going. Things have already started to pick up since the weather's starting to get nicer. We're starting to see an influx in business. So you can go through the numbers. If you have any questions, give me a call. What I'm happy with, I like to see the profits before expenses are increasing. The big push this year, again, is going to be canned cocktails and the THC, which is already above budgets so far year to date. Several new staff members. Things are going very well. Training has basically, as of last Saturday night, come to an end, so they're on their own and seem to be doing really well. Very positive, very fun group. I missed Legislative Day because we were on vacation, but was able to talk to Representative Demuth at the Chamber banquet. Had a nice conversation. I think you've seen some things in the news with dispensaries, municipals, liquor stores, cities trying for that. In our next working session, I'd like to bring that up and at least get a discussion going while Representative Zach Stevenson seems to be very willing to work with cities and help us along with that. So I think we should open it up for discussion to see what the future is with that. Again, this year our MMBA conference is in April, and I've already started collecting prizes for that. I'm still in charge of hauling products up to Alexandria for our conference, and we'll have a couple. I think Jean and Jennifer are attending this year, so that should be fun for them. Good learning experience.
The
Just
chief
for them.
has already let us know he will be sharing one of his body cams with them so that they can
Ooh.
dutifully report back on all of your doings.
We're not allowed in his house.
There may be a night where there's a costume that I have to wear that I would appreciate at that time. So,
Is it maroon and gold?
absolutely not. It'll be black and gold. Yeah, I'm just saying. Go Hawks. Also, we have Wine Club this Thursday night, American Legion, 7 p.m. We have Lariat Phillips doing the evening, so it should be another great night. So keep checking our website, PainesvilleLiquor.com. We brought in over 200 new items since the first of the year. Still making room. So that's all I've got.
Any questions for Bill? All right, Ron.
All right, thank you. First of all, parking restrictions go off on March 15th, and obviously the snow plowing budget is doing quite well this year. The Ampey Park shelter bids are the 28th of March. So after that, we will know exactly where we're at with that. Again, well sealing, we do have funds for sealing wells if anybody does have any unused or abandoned wells in town here. Street sweeping, guys will be out hopefully tomorrow here. Environmental committee meeting we have on Thursday evening. And the spring cleanup is April the 27th. Let's see, Bob and Brad were both at training last week. Some of the things that they attended, it was at the Minnesota Rural Waters Annual Conference. They have over 1,000 attendees at that, so it is a huge ordeal. But the flow meter calibration, hydrant maintenance and repair, water color inspection, meter readers, PFAS update they got, chemical safety infrastructure planning, and modeling, some biological filtration, information. And under new technologies, under pond optimizations, they have a new, they're pressurizing some water, changing the ions and putting a negative ion out into the ponds. And supposedly this will be enough to assist in reducing the biosolids level. So that'll be an interesting something coming up, which we'll follow up on. Thank you.
All right, any questions for Ron?
I have, do you have an idea when you're gonna open the compost site? I've had some.
Yes, I had about a half a dozen calls today.
Yeah, I had some too.
Weather permitting, maybe right around April 1st.
Ron, without saying yes to anything now, I assume there could maybe be some interest in having a discussion about the snow plowing fees that were charged for this winter, given how light it was. I know I had a couple of downtown businesses talk to me about it.
We want to have the discussion, absolutely, we can have the discussion.
Yeah, I think a discussion is maybe in order. I don't think we should say yes or no right now, but a discussion.
Okay.
Anything else? Ark?
Well, it was already mentioned that we had the budget and finance meeting last week, and also I attended with Megan the LMC Day or City Day on the Hill, which was a good event to attend. And then you and I had that meeting with a potential business to do a development in town. And then today the chief and I addressed one of the nuisance properties in town. And what I'd like to say about that is we have cleanup coming up on April 27th. So I would encourage anybody who may have some items that they want to get rid of or some cleaning up that they'd like to do, because after April 27th, the chief and I will be going around again and trying to address any other nuisance items that are outstanding. So that's what I have there.
Any questions for Tarek? All right, going on then to the adoption of or anybody here for the open forum? Mike, I know you want to get up and talk to us. Okay, you're last. Adoption of the consent agenda then. The vouchers on page 2, there being no minutes, so I'm skipping those. Vouchers totaling $309,728.89, along with the resignation of a firefighter who moved out of the area. Anybody want something pulled, or is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Hersberg, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Sweeney. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. Great. Let's jump ahead since Mike's here. Let's talk about surplusing the fire truck. New business C. Unless you want more time, Mike. I don't know how eager you are to sit and grace us with your presence.
I'd like to put surplus up on the old Unit 12. It is a 1987 Ford LTS 8,000 with a 2,500 gallon tank on the back. And put it up on Facebook and the city website. Minimum bid of $3,000.
Mike, the only question I had is, I know we had quite the struggle to get rid of the last one. I think we ended up gifting it away or for a pretty small amount. And Paul, this is kind of a question for you too, but do we think we might get something better if we put it on mid-bid, like we do some of the other things?
I'm trying to remember what we got for the one we put on min-bid. I think you get more exposure that way.
So mid-bid is, it's a statewide website, like an auction service.
Okay.
For government agencies to put stuff on, and then other government agencies or people can bid on things there. I'm not opposed to surplusing
I was
it.
gonna say, but you do have a couple interested parties already, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
So,
that would save us the listing fees.
yeah.
I'm good, I just wanted to make sure that we could,
Is there a fire department publication or anything that you could advertise in where existing departments could see?
Not that I know of. There's magazines out there from suppliers that build fire trucks that you could get it in. I don't know how time consuming that is. We've never done that before.
Because this truck is good enough for a small department or extra
If a small department bought it, they would have to put a new tank on it. Other than that, yes, it is good enough. And there was a couple of them out in Michigan that were interested in it. I don't know how they heard about it, but they contacted one of the guys on the department. And I'm assuming Davey Vossi's interested too, so.
With that, we're looking for a motion to surplus the fire truck and authorize the advertisement for sealed bids. I would suggest Facebook, the city's website, and any other potential forum with a minimum bid of $3,000.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Soini is stated on the action sheet with the understanding that we're not limiting it to Facebook and the city's website. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Hersberg. Any other discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank
Who
you.
do I get the info to put it on the city website?
Chris,
Tarek and Kristen.
Okay, I will get that written up and get it to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You didn't have anything else on here, right?
Nope, nothing else.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Right, back up to page 4, ordinance 51, allowing for the pollinator promotion. This came about from the No Mow May stuff last year, along with the legislature passing an ordinance requiring us to essentially allow for pollinator gardens and natural plantings. So this is an amendment that was brought forth based on what we had already approved last year with what the legislature proposed. Can certainly discuss it further, otherwise I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Hold on.
How many people you think participated last year? Any idea?
I don't know.
Well, this is different than the normal May.
Right, it incorporates this, but it goes further,
Because we have one at the museum.
Yeah. and I'll be putting one in the summer.
I'll make the motion to approve ordinance number 51, third series, and official summary of the ordinance number 51, third series.
Motion by Soini, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Brick, any further discussion?
I guess a part of me feels this is more for township where you have a couple acres or more than just a low lawn. Except for dandelions, I don't see that, and I know, I suppose bees love dandelions, but I don't see a real, I guess I haven't had anybody tell me that, oh, my neighbor didn't mow and it's a nightmare and it's affecting the value of my property, but I'm just not sure it's right for residential lawns.
Well, so the one part of it, even if we don't do sort of the no mow May part of it, we have to do the managed natural landscapes. That is the state mandate that came down. So if somebody wants to do a pollinator garden that's there year round, we can't prohibit that. So that part of it would have to go forward, but we could revise it and get rid of the no mow May part if that's what the council wanted to do.
I think most people mow anyway, especially if it starts raining and the grass is going like crazy.
And if they don't, I don't think a month is going to affect anything too much one way or another.
Any other discussion? Okay, calling on the question. All those in favor of the ordinance indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Right, the funding request for the Painesville Area Foundation, Cronus Hills Woodland Park, 12 of our agenda. I will give a little bit of an update on how the request came to us, and then some of the things that we've learned since it went to Budget and Finance last week. The council voted on supporting the project. Neil and Tarek and I went to the Stearns County Commissioners meeting and were there in support of it. after the commissioners meeting, the request was made to the city. We got an email that I think a bunch of people were copied on, but I also got a phone call from somebody involved in the project asking us for a donation. When he and I spoke, the requested amount was for a letter of commitment with funds to be given at the time the land is closed on, but they were asking for $50,000 from the city. Budget and Finance they considered the request. Somebody correct me if I get it wrong, but the consensus coming out of there was these funds aren't budgeted for. Give us more information on it, and we'll certainly consider it for our next budget cycle.
That's correct.
Since then, the question was raised on whether we can use ARPA monies or any city funding for that matter for such a project. I reached out to the League of Minnesota Cities. Belinda reached out to the auditors. The league indicated, well, the ARPA money can be used for anything that you can spend city money on, essentially. But we don't know that you can use it in this manner. The city can buy a park, and the city can support public things, but we don't know that the city can give money to the county to buy a park. Talk to your city attorney. The auditors said the same thing and concluded with talk to your city attorney. So Eric did some research today. And Eric, you're going to correct me if I'm wrong, but the essence is we are a statutory city. We can only do what the statutes say we can do. And it's not clear if the statute says we can give money for this. The statute is clear that we can spend money to buy a park that we own, but it's less clear that we can give money to the county for the purchase of a park. In a nutshell,
Generally, I'd say yes. I don't know how the request came in. Would the funds go directly to the county?
yes.
Okay. That helps. If it was going to the community foundation, I think it seems like that'd be a clear no, in my research of the AG's opinions and stuff like that.
I ask you to steal the microphone.
Oh.
Thanks.
Yeah, what Sean said was basically, correct. Any city expenditure has to be for a public purpose, and you have to have statutory authority to make that expenditure. Here, public purpose would probably be public health, general welfare. I think the argument can be made that it is a public purchase or public purpose. But even there, I think there is a question just because, it's close in proximity, but it is not within the city. So whether or not it is the city public purpose is still would be a question, I suppose. But when you look at statutory authority, yes, you can purchase public land for public parks, but in all those statutory provisions, it basically says you have to maintain control over that property. Here, it'd be transferred to the county, so I'd really be hesitant. And Bill kind of agreed and mentioned he's always kind of conservative with these sort of opinions, but it does seem like there'd be an issue there with not having control over that park.
So I think if we elect to move forward, we are running the risk of running into an issue on the audit or potentially a lawsuit.
Yeah, that's always the risk.
Now, I think generally speaking, the community's in favor of this. Like there are some concerns, but overall, I think everyone's in favor. I don't know that it's a huge risk. I'm inclined to agree a little bit with Budget and Finance that this wasn't budgeted for in terms of the $50,000 request. I wouldn't be opposed to a smaller donation, but I am concerned knowing that we may not be able to do it.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll turn to the two that were on the committee. Neil?
I am in favor of the project. And I think we are obligated to do something. I would rather see, and I know why they want this money tomorrow, is because it helps their grant. But I would prefer to do like 10,000 a year for 5 years. And I'm sure they wouldn't turn that down. We just aren't, they'd be seeing 10,000 instead of 50 to help with the grant. But they can still use our letter saying this is what we're gonna do to help them get that grant. So my proposal would be 10,000 a year for 5 years.
Megan, can I ask for your thoughts since you were on the budget committee?
Well, going by what Mr. Glenn's just said, if we can't do it, I don't think we should do it. You know, if we can't do it, I don't think we should just do it and hope that we don't get sued for it. But if we can do it, I think it's a good thing, and I would like to see a timeline on when it's a possibility that it will connect to Painesville City's trails and parks, because I think that's the plan. But it was my first budget and finance meeting, so I was trying to absorb a lot of information, but I do think that basically it's just the timeline isn't going to work right now because we're not entering into discussions about the new budget cycle yet. So if it needs to be by, go with the timeline that was given to us, that isn't gonna work. But if we can do it, I think that we should, but I think that what Neil suggested isn't a bad idea either, so.
I just have one more comment on our ARPA funds. Everybody knows we use 200,000 for the fire truck. And there's about 40 left. That is earmarked.
Yes.
So, and if we don't use ARPA funds, we definitely can donate. So we need to either find that 10 out of the parks or reserves or wherever we're gonna find it. But 10 a year, I think, is very feasible.
But what I got from that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that it doesn't matter where it comes from, correct?
Yeah, but where the funds come from doesn't matter. I should mention too, I mean, I just looked into this afternoon, so it's hard to give a real definitive answer on this right now. Bill did throw it up on the listserv to see if any other city attorneys would, give them some guidance if there's any other.
I thought it was just for the ARPA. Well, we could make a motion that we're gonna do this if it's legal, if it meets the legality challenges.
Yeah, the other issue that I guess made me lean this way at this time is there's an old Attorney General opinion from, I think it was like 1963, but it specifically said that cities can't donate to counties. But then it said there has been some opinion since then that allow it in some circumstance. I'm not sure on what those circumstances are at this point, so it would take a little more time to look into that.
I know the difference, the township gave a substantial amount, so I know the inclination is for us to match the township. And I get it, I feel the same way. But the way that the township operates and the things that they can spend money on are different from what the city can spend money on. We can only do what we're authorized to do by the statute. The township doesn't have those same restrictions.
Right.
And neither does the county.
Right.
Well, and the township was asked to use ARPA funds for the fire truck and they refused.
They did refuse,
So-
yeah.
So they had lots of ARPA to use that we don't, so the comparison is null and void.
Thoughts from my right?
I'd like to give them something, because I'm in favor of the park too. I'm wholeheartedly in favor. Legally, if we can, we will. And I like Neil's idea of 10,000 a year it's easier for us to budget.
Well, plus this year, we have all of our park funds.
On the
aside
shelter,
for the
yeah.
Park shelter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the simple fact, I looked at our budget, the request of $50,000 is 25% of our entire parks budget for the year.
It's not happening this year.
It exceeds our transfer to capital improvement by about sixfold. Our capital improvement transfer, there's what, 7,500, I think? Or was it 12,500? Yeah,
I think we bumped that up. It's about 35,000.
Was it that high? in any event, this still exceeds what we've been putting away in capital improvement, knowing that we have a shelter to build. So we've been trying to plan for that. I guess my thought would be, well, before I do that, Eric, do you think there'd be any difference if the funds came from EDAP?
Oof. I don't, but I'm not positive.
Because that's not taxpayer money.
Right. But it's still a city expenditure.
I know there are differences, like the city can't be a member of the Chamber of Commerce, but we can use EDAP funds to pay for TARX membership.
I believe that's true, yes.
EDAP can buy property.
EDAP can buy property.
Well, I think I'm gonna be about the only one that's gonna dissent in everything that we're discussing here. This is out of our jurisdiction to start with. It's not really gonna help us out within the cities, and I can understand where they need to have the support for the letters and stuff, and I totally agree with that. When it comes to the time of donating this kind of money, from some of the other people that I've talked to, is if the city has to go into a situation where they're bonding because there's gonna be a shortfall of money, why should it be on their backs for the bonding while we're giving away money like this? That was something that, especially for the retired people, that didn't sit well with them. The next thing I got going on here is, I've just highlighted 3 projects we got going. One is the seal coating for the airport. That's gonna cost, what, about 50,000 from our part, roughly?
Our part's about 70,000.
70,000?
7,000.
7, okay.
7 to 8.
The downtown sewer project, which we've been pushing back for a while, I mean, that's gonna,
That's gonna be huge.
right, and then any additions we got going to Ampey Park. I mean, the way, I guess what I'm getting at is, we have a lot of obligations within the city to look after first. And I think that we should focus on that. Okay, and one of the things that I wanted to bring up was that I can see what they're trying to do is get the approval of everyone thinking that's a great idea, and then talk about the money afterwards. But when you look at the asking price of over $600,000, that's about twice as much as what land's going for in central Minnesota. Just going through some recent land transactions myself, you're lucky to get $1,500 an acre, and they're asking for at least $3,000 an acre. So I think that as far as this goes, we should be able to see at least an appraisal of the land to see what it's exactly worth, and then take it from there.
You know,
Stearns County did have an appraisal, Paul.
Yeah.
And it was, she's selling for about half of what it was appraised. I know of many instances where a 2-acre tract of woods in the township was 10,000 an acre. So the price is not an issue. You say it doesn't do anything for Painesville, but I beg to differ. Tourism, growth, that's what our primary interest is to expand and grow this city. And I'm a senior citizen too, and we're all on fixed incomes, but we all did get a little COLA. You know, I get tired of hearing, a lot of seniors are better off than your young working man. So, I rest my case.
Well, can we discuss this more at a working session?
well, I think we need to reach, they're hoping to put something in for their grant, so we need to come up with an immediate answer, not that we can't revisit it, but I think we need to come up with something tonight. I agree with Neil 100%. I think this is going, well, maybe not 100%. But I agree that this is huge for Painesville as a city and the community. I've also heard, why do we care about a park in the township when we've got our own parks to build up? And I think that's a valid concern. Why are we helping buy a park out in the township when we have parks like those over, I forget what it's called, but the one over by Sunrise, that needs some new equipment and things like that. We don't have the money to put equipment into the parks that we have, so why are we finding land to buy new land? Like, I get it, but I do think this is also an investment in the region's future, if we can do it. My bigger concern is that the money's not budgeted. I don't like that we're being asked for this essentially at, forgive the dramatic experience, but at gunpoint. When the request comes to me in the form of it's time for the city to either put up or shut up, that's a little off-putting for me. So I don't like, it's not budgeted for, it's not there, and I don't like that we might get ourselves into some deep doo-doo if we do it at all. That scares me a little bit. I would not be opposed to doing $5,000 contingent on a letter from our attorney saying that it's okay after some additional research. But that puts a lot of weight on your back.
Our job.
So I'm not opposed to something like that, and then saying, this is what we're doing right now, but we're also going to look in our budget for 25 and beyond, and maybe get to that 50,000 number. But saying that without budgeting for it, without doing anything like that, this is what we're willing to do. Because it kind of seems, it feels, we're right or wrong, it feels to me a little bit like a timeshare presentation. Act now or you're never going to get this.
Right.
And that it is being overly dramatic. I recognize that, but that's sort of the impression that it gives off.
I do think that any letter of intent should come with that contingency of us verifying that it is even legal to do.
That is legal for us to do.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should promise a dollar amount until we can get better direction of where the legal aspects are gonna end up. Because otherwise, they're just gonna use the figure of, well, you promised us this, or you said you would do this with the intent of supplying us with the funds for it. Where I think it'd be better off if we were to go off of the legal aspect, just to cover our side.
Well, if it doesn't work out legally, then they don't get anything.
That we don't give it to them.
Right.
And that's a self-check.
Yeah.
And here, it's this, as long as it's legal.
Yeah.
In reference to the park budget, there is possibilities. I mean, we all know what's on the agenda for the closed session. There could be some additional revenue for the parks that we're not thinking about.
Right.
And there's also possible additional revenue for the shelter that's being built. We're gonna ask a few clubs if they're interested, and there's a possible donation that I know could be coming. So, could be's, would be's, we doesn't make it, but it's, you know, it's 5 to 10, I know we could take out of reserves with the promise to put back in. So I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah. I think it'll be good too. I think, you know, if people are going to go there and camp, they're going to need to buy things and probably going to buy them here.
They're probably also going to buy some liquor.
I know.
Okay.
That was implied by things, Sean. So, and I think that,
Hotel?
yeah, I think that if it will connect, I would like to hear more about that, you know, what the timeline is on that and when it will possibly be, you know, connecting to our parks here, but I guess
Yeah,
my
because certainly
decision
there's going to be
is
expenses
contingent.
with the trail.
Yeah.
When it comes time to connect that.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I don't, you know, we have no issues funding trails. We've already done a bunch, so we know we can fund trails.
Right.
I think once we open the door to giving money, you gotta wonder if it's gonna stay open and there's gonna be more requests down the road.
We can
We
always
can say no.
I know that.
Jinx, Jean.
One at a time.
Oh, I mean, there's always a possibility. We get asked for money every day, but
Yeah.
you just have to take things on a case-by-case basis.
Well, I'm willing to make my original motion, 10,000 a year for 5 years, contingent on the legality of doing the contribution to the county.
Okay, there's a motion by Hersberg to make a contribution of $10,000 per year for the next 5 years, contingent on the legal authority to do so.
I'll second it.
I think that figure's a little heavy.
Hold on. So we have a motion by Hertzberg for a donation of $10,000 a year. I just want to make sure I get it written down.
Sure.
Then I'll open it for discussion. So $10,000 a year for 5 years contingent on legal approval. Where would the funds come from? Out of the reserves?
At least this year. After that, budgeted.
Depending where we end up on our parks budget, yes.
Okay. From parks or reserves? All right, so we have a motion for $10,000 a year for 5 years contingent on legal approval with funds coming from the reserves or the parks fund, depending on whether or not there's money available there. That motion was seconded by Brick. All right, discussion, Paul.
Yeah, I just think that that number's a little heavy. But we could start out small and work our way up. I would say half that would be a good compromise.
My thought is, in less than 5 years, we may be having to put money into the, hooking up the trail. And then we either have to come up with more money, or we have to tell them, all right, this is what we gave you, and you have to hook up the trail. I don't know. That's why I'm thinking maybe don't commit to 5 years and just do it one time now and then
Revisit it every year like we do
revisit it
with
every,
like the other donations that we do?
yep.
I just think that if you do the 5 years, a stronger commitment letter, that's all.
It is a stronger commitment letter.
It is, it is.
And if it helps them get the grant, then that's,
And one thing to consider, our budget's really saving this winter on our snow removal.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like, you know, we might have to take from Paul to pay Peter, but it's not like there's not some extra there.
Right.
I think
If we have a really nasty fall, that could disappear. But
if we go on a year-to-year basis, it'll also give us a better indication of what other donations that they will be receiving. More, what I'm aiming at is more private donations that they will be getting funded for.
well, and unless I'm reading things wrong, the community fund is starting a parks fund, which if that would grow and turn into something, we could possibly put in requests for playground equipment, this or that,
I think the parks fund that they're doing is solely dedicated to
solely
this.
for the new park.
Don't quote me on it, but I
Because
believe that that's
I
right.
read what was in the paper and it kind of,
well, I think that there was a reason that they didn't explicitly state that it was solely for this park, and that, I mean, I think that's its purpose now, but depending on how things go, I don't necessarily think that's going to be its purpose forever.
And that's entirely possible. Yeah.
Based on what was presented at the township last Thursday, that was the that's what was implied, was that it was for this park.
Yeah, I mean, I think it will definitely be for this park first and foremost, and maybe always, but I don't think it's necessarily, I think we'll have to see how things go.
Right. Any further discussion on the motion? Again, it's a donation of $10,000 a year per 5 years. Calling the question, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed. Motion does carry, vote is 3-2. Right. Moving on, the airport crack repair project, page 13. Ron or Chuck? Once you get a microphone.
Okay, at the last meeting, we had authorized the preparation of the plan of specs, and on that motion, we missed the advertising for bids, so we just need to correct that motion to add that on again. This will be about $125,000 project for repairing all the cracks out there. And it is 90% federal, 5% state, and 5% local. So,
And that's where you got your $7,000 to $8,000 number. Just making sure that we all understand the maths here, because it's not my strong suit. All right, so looking for a motion to advertise for bids for the 2024 airport crack repair project.
I'll make the motion to authorize advertisement for bids for the 2024 airport crack repair project.
Motion by Soini is stated on the action sheet. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Brick. All those, or any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Carries. Great. And then we need to pay some bills. Chuck, who are we paying and why?
Yes, the wastewater irrigation system improvement project is nearing completion. The contractor had great weather all winter to get this work completed. The project is nearing completion with just a couple items left to complete, so they are way ahead of schedule. So in your packet is a copy of pay application 2 for $75,715 for work completed by Hydro Engineering during the month of February.
We're looking for a motion to approve payment estimate number 2 in the amount of $75,715 to Hydro Engineering.
I'll make the motion to approve payment estimate number 2, amount of $75,715 payable to Hydro Engineering Incorporated.
It's a motion by Hertzberg. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Soini. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. All right. On to our update. We have some new airport T-hanger leases. Ron, anything we need to know special about these, or are they pretty pro forma?
let's see, there are 3 of them that are, well, actually, all the people on here are new. However, one of them is taking over somebody that is leaving us. So at this time, after this, we will have 2 empty hangars yet. There would have been down to 1, but there is another person that is also leaving. So currently, we sit with 2 empty hangars, which is better than what we were looking at. And I do have a couple more people that are interested, so I'm hoping that by May or June, we will be 100% full.
With that, we'd be looking at a motion to approve the airport T-hanger lease agreements between the city of Painesville and Colin Doyle, Brian Underland, Patrick Masti, and Kyle Labs.
So moved.
Motion by Soini is stated on the action sheet. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brick. Any further discussion? None. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Great. Ordinance number 52, third series, amending chapter 6. This came about discussions with the regional manager and the store manager of Tractor Supply, along with one of their social media posts where they're going to be selling hatchlings, and a question about whether or not that was permitted. I looked at it and I said, well, of course it's permitted. And then I checked our ordinance, and it's not. So I talked to Bill and I said, Bill, I thought this would have been permitted, surely it must be. And his response was, yeah, I thought it was, but it's not. So we took a look and discussed this, did a little bit of research with the guys from, well, in my conversation with the manager from Tractor Supply, he mentioned that the city of Cambridge had a pretty good ordinance. Well, he thought they did because one of their stores in Cambridge has some weird restrictions on when they can sell hatchlings. So Bill and I pulled that ordinance, took a look at it, and said, yeah, this seems like it sort of fits our provisions in general, specifically how it allows for the sale, but it requires notification to purchasers that they can't be raised within city limits. So I told the Tractor Supply Company folks that we would at least bring an ordinance to the council for consideration, but they know that as things stand right now, they're not allowed to be sold when they open in April. That's the backstory on this.
And the legality still is, people in town really shouldn't be buying the chickens because it's in violation of the ordinance.
Right.
And it's high time we approve this because I believe the feed store sells chickens. and has been for quite a few years. And I know one day I was at the post office and there were little chickens and ducklings being delivered. So with that, I'll make the motion to approve ordinance number 52, third series.
Motion by Hersberg, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Soini. Any discussion? I will say shipping hatchlings to the mail is a pretty big improvement over when they used to ship infants. Right. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Carries. Okay, we talked about the surplus fire truck, that's done. Irrigation agreements. Ron?
Okay, we have two irrigation agreements here. First one is on pivot 21, and that came about with the improvements that we were making to that pivot. If you recall, we're adding, it'll be almost 10 acres with those improvements, and about 5 of them will be on this person's property, and I believe that they've already signed. The second one is on pivot number 8, and we've been dealing with that person for quite a long time now, and they have also come to an agreement to sign. They are both ready to go.
I'll make the motion to approve the irrigation agreements between the City of Painesville and Teresa Herding for pivot number 21 and Bruton Properties LLC for pivot number 8.
Motion by Soini is stated on the action sheet. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Hersberg. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I've got a question for Ron.
Yeah.
With the 40-year, is that a set price for every year, or does that fluctuate?
No, that gets renegotiated every third year.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor then indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay? None, motion carries. Right, grit removal system repairs, page 68 of our agenda.
Okay, this work has already been completed. It's out at the Headworks building, which this is the building that AMPI does cover 100% of. And it is in the grit removal system, so it is an auger system, and it is auger and gravel and grit, so it is a very corrosive and a very rough area in there. Initially, when we seen we needed the repairs, we did look at purchasing all of the equipment new, and just those parts alone were going to be just shy of the $20,000. So we put the brakes on that and looked for somebody locally that we could do the repairs. So Bill Fuchs was that one, and his price came up to $6,150. And he did a very good job. We got photos on the back, and all the guys are very impressed with it. So.
Okay. So just make sure I understood what you said. This is something that we were paying, but then are going to turn around and invoice to AMPI.
Well, it comes out of their budget, and at the end of the year, that budget amount direct to them.
Okay. So if there's no further discussion, the motion would be in order approving the invoice.
I was happy to see that we're keeping the money local.
Yeah.
And I'll make the motion to approve the invoice from BFM Manufacturing Incorporated, amount of $6,150, make the necessary repairs to the grit removal system.
So motion by Hersberg, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Soini. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. All right, crack sealing project, page 81.
Well, the Public Works Committee met this right before this meeting, and one of the items there was the crack sealing. Just the importance of crack sealing again is to make sure we prevent any moisture from getting into the soil and subsoils, and especially in the winter frost season, that is what ruins the roads. So if we can prevent that, the roads identified this year would be the ones that we are proposing to seal coat. So, and like I said, the Public Works did review and has recommended it. The Camco, we have worked with them in the past. In fact, they've done our work here, I think, the last 3 years, and have done a very satisfactory job.
Yeah, you'd think that some of these other companies would start dropping their prices, but maybe they just don't want the work. Right. Well, if there's no discussion, the motion would be in order on the quote from Camco.
I'll make the motion to approve the quote from Camp Go in the amount of $17,490 with funds to come from street maintenance and repairs.
This motion from Soini is indicated on the action sheet. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Hersberg. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. Great, we have some informational things, including our meeting schedule, some committee meeting minutes from the lodging tax committee. If you're going to the LMC annual conference, please let Kristen know. And then I would entertain a motion for us to go into closed session to discuss property as indicated on our agenda, located at 890 South Street and 950 South Street, or 355 Carroll Lane, pursuant to 13D.03 and 13D.05 of the open meeting law.
So moved.
Motion by Brick, is there a second? Soini. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, we will be in closed session to discuss those properties, and we'll come back. Okay, Kristen says we are back live. So we are back public from our closed session. We discussed the
A land swap.
the land swap for the real property at 890 South Street and 950 South Street / 355 Kira Lane. And we have provided Tarek with some instructions on how to move forward with negotiation. And if we get an offer in writing, he can bring that back for us to approve.
The taxes are going to be higher.
And then we have another proposed closed session on the real property located at parcel ID 70.38641.0040 pursuant to the same subdivisions of the open meeting law. Motion for us to go into closed session.
So moved.
Motion by Thielen, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brick. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Else opposed? None? 7:09, we will break, go back into closed session. Right, we are back in open meeting. We've met in closed session to talk about the offer on property, parcel 70.38641.0040. Reviewed a developer's agreement and have given Tarek some additional direction on how to move forward with that. You will be in contact with the developer and then regroup with the council. So with that, and there being nothing else, we stand adjourned. Thanks, everyone.